Hi everyone, my name is Marinessa Lutfa and I'm an intern with HAN, which is the Homeless Action Network of Detroit. Today I'll be talking a little bit about my internship experience at HAN, what I learned, and what projects I got to be a part of. So a little bit about myself. This is my second semester with HAN. I've always been interested in how multifaceted issues like homelessness are addressed, and I want to learn more about the barriers that people are currently facing in housing, both on the individual level with things like mental health, trauma, and addiction, and also on the systematic level with things like housing policies, lack of health care, or limited affordable housing. And so working with HAND was a great opportunity because I was able to learn more about all of this while also getting a first-hand experience with how the issues are addressed. So I would like to start with sort of a semester timeline. This internship at HAND lasted for 4 months from January to April. Because it was my second semester of doing it, I skipped the typical onboarding and orientation that they have at the beginning. And some of the big projects I was a part of this year included the initial framework of the employee burnout training, the pick count inventory, fundraising research, and also the Veteran Flex Fund. In addition to those, I also had a few reoccurring tasks throughout the semester. These included posting on HAND social media pages, creating newsletter supplements, and attending meetings and taking meeting notes. And these are all things that I'll be going more into later on. So going back to the burnout training research, this was one of the first big projects I was assigned to this semester. The burnout training research actually consisted of three main parts, and that is burnout, prevention, grief management, and work-life balance. I was responsible for creating sort of the framework of how these topics can be addressed through training and how they can be addressed, especially within the homeless services community. Because working with homeless services, a lot of employees are exposed to unique circumstances and stressors, and they can often find themselves dealing with unrealistic expectations or emotionally challenging aspects of the job, such as frequent exposure to trauma or other difficult situations. And they might also find themselves overworked or dealing with, unclear or shifting job roles, which can also lead to stress. So my task was to compile information on burnout, grief management, and work-life imbalance, and what their symptoms were, their causes, prevention, and how they can be handled. And I also compiled resources that employees could turn to for assistance with these things. As I mentioned before, social media was one of the reoccurring tasks that I had. I posted an average of once a week, and I made a total of, I believe, 12 posts to HAN's Instagram and Facebook pages. And for these social media posts, I particularly enjoyed creating more housing related informational posts, like for instance, about the Johnson versus Grants case, which was about whether homelessness should be criminalized, and also posts such as April and Fair Housing Month. And the same went for the newsletter content. I created a total of 3 supplements for HAN's newsletter, And as with the social media posts, I enjoy creating the informational content. They helped me learn more about housing and homelessness, and they also helped me share that knowledge with others. And as a whole, this semester I believe Hand's social media pages and newsletter performed very well. From January to April, there was a 118.5 increase in content engagement with Facebook posts and a 103.5 increase for Instagram. And as for the newsletter, it had about a 36% opening rate, which is higher than the industry average. So it was just very cool to be a part of all of that. So another recurring task this semester was taking meeting minutes. I took the minutes for the Moving Up meeting, the PSH meeting, and the CAM communications meeting. And I also took minutes for the Hand Training Committee meetings. These meetings really gave me a lot of insight into how supporting housing worked as a process and what circumstances were taken into account, as well as what things were needed to better assist people on both the provider side and the recipient side. So they were very useful in just learning the entire process as a whole. Fundraising research was another sort of big project-like task that I was assigned for Hand. Because of COVID, there was a bit of a pause on fundraising, and they're still starting up again. I was responsible for compiling low commitment fundraising options for Hand, and I focused heavily on dine and donate options, which is where groups can eat out to restaurants and then have a percentage of their bill donated to the group's cause. In addition to research, I also followed up with issues from previous dine and donates that Hand did, and in addition to all of that, I also reached out to local restaurants and organizations to learn more about their fundraising partnership opportunities and how Hand could work with them. And so this is a ongoing project and will be continued in the future. I think my most advanced project for this semester was working on the Veteran Flex Fund. The Veteran Flex Fund is an initiative that supports veterans who are in need of a one-time financial assistance to exit homelessness and to secure permanent housing. It's for those who have exhausted all other financial resources that are available to them. It's a very big project, and there are two specific portions that I was a part of. These were the Veteran Flex Fund PowerPoint and the Items of Proof Documentation Guide. The Veteran Flex Fund PowerPoint was a training guide for providers so that they could better understand what the Veteran Flex Fund was and how they could use it to support veterans in need. It basically went over the eligibility criteria and how funding worked. I was responsible for taking the PowerPoint and expanding upon it and just editing it to make sure that it was presented in a updated and clear and concise manner. And as for the proofs guide, this is a ongoing project and it helps veterans on the other side of the process to just better understand what documentation they need to submit and what their proofs need to include. So for instance, names and addresses would have to match on different bills and different rental agreement statements, things like that. Both of these projects really gave me a rounded insight into how funding is approached from start to finish on both the employee or provider side and also on the veteran side. So I'm very grateful for that experience. So in the semester, for me, the most memorable moment was the pit count inventory. The pit count is the point in time count, and it's a annual count that measures who is experiencing homelessness on one night in January. It might seem like a random time, but the timing is very important because January is one of the coldest months, so this gives providers a good idea of who needs assistance the most. The sheltered pick count is conducted through HMIS, and the unsheltered pick count is conducted through interviewing those who are unsheltered on the night of the pit. So I assisted with the pick count inventory, which basically meant organizing and packing and counting items such as gloves, scarves, thermal blankets, hygiene items, and other things that would be distributed on the night of the pit. This was my most memorable moment because it was great working together as a team in person, and it was also great being able to do something meaningful myself that would then have a direct, tangible impact on someone else. So that was a rewarding feeling that made it the most memorable moment. From start to finish, I worked a total of 321 hours. These hours were spent conducting research, attending meetings, and working on various projects. It was a truly rewarding experience, and I enjoyed every second of it. In relation to my career interests, this internship has tremendously changed my perspective on homelessness. It's opened my eyes to its complexities and the different issues, and how important community involvement and teamwork is. I now have a strong desire to continue learning more about the different programs that can address the different issues throughout the community and better serve the community as a whole. I look forward to learning more about the system and to learning how to address the root causes of homelessness and what long-term and short-term solutions can be put into place. I have included here a brief overview of my resume. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, or if you would just like to connect, or if you would like a PDF version. For whatever reason, I have this information right here. In conclusion, I would like to thank the HAND team for this amazing opportunity and for their support and guidance throughout the internship. My time with HAND has been amazing. I'm grateful to have been able to witness firsthand the interdisciplinary teamwork and creative problem solving that's needed to tackle housing and social issues related with it. I'm also very grateful for being able to experience the compassion and resilience that HAND has when approaching homelessness and advocating for systemic change. And so this has been a truly unique and, like I said, very rewarding experience. And I would just like to say thank you to them again.